Los Angeles, California. Marriott Hotel, downtown. March 15th, 2001. Thursday evening, 11:47 p.m. The marble lobby echoes with emptiness, except for the soft hum of fluorescent lights and the distant murmur of late-night traffic outside. Most guests are asleep in their rooms above. The night shift staff moves quietly through the corridors, preparing for the graveyard hours ahead. But in the center of this sterile corporate space, something extraordinary is about to unfold. Something that will shatter every assumption about Christopher Walken, redefine what it means to be a serious actor, and create one of the most iconic moments in music video history. Christopher Walken sits alone at a small table near the concierge desk, reading a treatment for a music video. The pages describe a simple concept: a man dancing alone in an empty hotel. No dialogue, no storyline, just movement and music. At 58 years old, Walken has spent 3 decades building a reputation as one of Hollywood's most intense and unpredictable actors. The pale, piercing eyes that made him famous in The Deer Hunter, the unsettling presence that defined characters in Batman Returns and Pulp Fiction. But tonight, director Spike Jonze is asking him to do something that could either destroy that carefully crafted image or transform it completely. Just dance, Spike had said during their meeting earlier that day. Be yourself. Let the music move you. Show people who Christopher Walken really is when nobody's watching. What nobody knows yet is that Christopher Walken has been hiding his true self for 30 years. What nobody realizes is that beneath the menacing characters and psychological intensity lies something completely unexpected, a dancer's soul that has been waiting decades for permission to express itself. The story begins 3 weeks earlier in a recording studio in Brighton, England. Norman Cook, known professionally as Fatboy Slim, has just finished a track called Weapon of Choice. The rhythm is infectious, hypnotic, impossible to ignore. When Spike Jonze hears it, his director's mind immediately starts creating images. I want to do something no one expects, he tells Norman. I want to take someone known for being serious, even scary, and show their hidden joy. I want to prove that everyone has secrets. They discuss possibilities, actors who could surprise audiences, musicians who might reveal unexpected sides. But when Spike mentions Christopher Walken's name, Norman laughs. The guy from Pulp Fiction? The one who plays psychopaths? You want him to dance? That's exactly why it will work. But Spike knows something that most people don't. During a conversation on another film set months earlier, Christopher Walken had mentioned, almost in passing, that he missed dancing. That before he became an actor, he was a dancer. That sometimes, late at night in his Connecticut farmhouse, he would put on music and move the way he used to when the world knew him as Ronnie Walken, the kid from Queens who could tap dance better than he could talk. Dancing was my first language, Walken had said quietly. Everything else came after. Now, 3 weeks later, Christopher Walken sits in this empty hotel lobby, holding a script that asks him to speak his first language again. After decades of playing characters designed to make audiences uncomfortable, he's being asked to make them smile instead. The decision isn't easy. His agent thinks it's career suicide. His publicist warns that it could damage his serious actor credibility. Even his wife, Georgianne, expresses concern that dancing in a music video might be seen as a desperate grab for relevance. But something about this project calls to Christopher Walken in a way that's deeper than career calculations. This isn't about fame or money or maintaining an image. This is about truth, about showing the world who he really is beneath all the carefully constructed characters. At 11:52 p.m., Spike Jonze approaches the table where Walken is sitting. The director looks nervous, unsure. Making this video has become more important to him than he expected. It represents something about the courage to be vulnerable, to show hidden parts of yourself, to risk everything for a moment of authentic expression. Christopher, he says quietly, are you ready? Walken looks up from the treatment. For a moment, his face shows the intensity that has made him famous, the calculated stare that suggests danger just beneath the surface. Then something shifts. The corners of his mouth turn up slightly. Not a smile exactly, but the suggestion of one. I've been ready for 30 years. What happens next will be talked about for decades. Christopher Walken stands up from the table, and as he does, he begins to transform. Not into a character this time, but back into himself. Back into the young man who learned to dance in Queens when Eisenhower was president. Back into the performer who understood rhythm before he understood anything else. Spike gives a signal to his camera crew. The music begins to play, and Christopher Walken starts to dance. But this isn't the awkward, self-conscious movement you might expect from a serious, dramatic actor doing something outside his comfort zone. This is mastery. This is a man who has been hiding his greatest talent for 3 decades, finally allowing it to breathe. His first movements are subtle. A shoulder roll, a shift of weight from one foot to the other. Nothing dramatic, but everything perfectly timed to the music. The crew, expecting to film an interesting experiment, realizes they're witnessing something much more significant. Christopher Walken isn't learning to dance for this video. He's remembering how to dance. And the difference is extraordinary. As the song progresses, his movements become more complex. A slide across the marble floor that seems to defy physics. A turn that transitions seamlessly into a leap that carries him halfway across the lobby. Every gesture is controlled, precise, but somehow also spontaneous. The hotel staff, initially annoyed by the late-night filming, find themselves gathering at the edges of the lobby to watch. Housekeepers pause their rounds. Security guards abandon their posts. There's something mesmerizing about watching Christopher Walken dance, something that transcends entertainment and approaches art. But the most remarkable moment comes at 1:17 a.m., during the 4th take of a sequence where Walken appears to fly through the air, arms extended, defying gravity for what seems like an impossible amount of time. Later, special effects will enhance this moment, adding wires and digital magic, but the core of what audiences see is real. A 58-year-old man moving with the grace and power of someone half his age. "How did you do that?" someone asks when the take is finished. Christopher Walken just smiles. "Muscle memory," he says. "Some things you never forget." The filming continues until dawn. 6 hours of Christopher Walken dancing through every corner of the hotel. The lobby, the elevators, the empty conference rooms. Each location becomes a stage. Each surface becomes part of his choreography. But beyond the technical achievement, something emotional is happening. With every movement, Christopher Walken is reclaiming a part of himself that he thought was lost forever. The part that believes in joy over darkness, beauty over menace, hope over despair. Spike Jonze, watching from behind the cameras, realizes that this video has become more than a promotional tool for a dance track. It's become a document of transformation. A record of what happens when someone finally stops hiding who they really are. When filming wraps at 6:30 a.m., Christopher Walken is exhausted but exhilarated. He hasn't felt this much like himself in decades. The crew applauds, but the applause feels different from what he usually receives. Not the respectful acknowledgement of professional competence, but genuine enthusiasm for having witnessed something beautiful. "Thank you," he tells Spike as they pack up equipment. "I needed this more than you know." But neither of them is prepared for what happens when the video is released 6 months later. Weapon of Choice doesn't just become a hit, it becomes a cultural phenomenon. The video receives millions of views before social media even exists to amplify it. Entertainment shows can't stop talking about it. Suddenly, Christopher Walken isn't just the scary guy from Thrillers. He's the man who can make you believe in magic again. At the 2002 MTV Video Music Awards, the Weapon of Choice video wins 6 awards, including Best Direction and Best Choreography. But the real victory is more personal. Christopher Walken has shown the world that it's never too late to reveal who you really are. In his acceptance speech, he says something that becomes almost as famous as the video itself. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is just be yourself. The impact extends far beyond entertainment. The video becomes a symbol of midlife reinvention, of courage over comfort, of choosing authenticity over image management. Therapists show it to patients struggling with self-acceptance. Dance instructors use it to demonstrate that technical skill matters less than emotional truth. But perhaps the most significant change is in Christopher Walken himself. The video doesn't just show him dancing, it liberates him to dance. From this point forward, he begins incorporating movement into his acting roles whenever possible. Directors start writing dance sequences specifically for him, knowing that Christopher Walken brings something unique to any moment involving rhythm and motion. Years later, when asked about the video's impact on his life, Walken is characteristically direct. I spent 30 years playing characters who were afraid to be vulnerable. That video taught me that vulnerability is actually a kind of strength. The lesson of Christopher Walken's 6-minute dance extends far beyond the entertainment industry. It's a reminder that everyone has hidden depths, secret talents, parts of themselves that they've learned to suppress in service of who they think they should be. Christopher Walken thought he needed to choose between being a serious actor and being a dancer. The Weapon of Choice video proved that he could be both. That authentic expression doesn't diminish artistic credibility. It enhances it. On that Thursday night in March 2001, when Spike Jonze said dance for camera, Christopher Walken didn't just perform for 6 minutes. He reclaimed his identity. He chose truth over image. He reminded the world that it's never too late to show people who you really are. And 6 minutes later, Hollywood was speechless. Not because they'd seen something they'd never seen before, but because they'd seen something they'd forgotten was possible. A person brave enough to be completely, authentically themselves. That's what happened when Christopher Walken danced in an empty hotel lobby. He didn't just create one of the most iconic music videos ever made. He created a moment of pure human truth that continues to inspire people to find the courage to show their own hidden selves to the world. Sometimes the most powerful performance is when you stop performing and just start being.